These give rise to bodhicitta, thinking, I will establish all mother sentient beings limitless in space, as limitless number as the vast reaches of space, at the level of perfect unsurpassable enlightenment. To that end, I will put this profound Dharma into practice. I will listen to this profound Dhamma and put it into practice accordingly. In this way, please give rise to the motivation of bodhicitta and the corresponding conduct. The Dhamma we speak of today is a torch lighting the way to freedom, which is comprised of three main parts, namely the virtuous beginning, middle, and end. Having covered the virtuous beginning, we're looking at the virtuous middle, the main body of the text, which is comprised of two main parts: how to follow a spiritual friend, the route of the path, and the main explanation of the stages for setting out on the path. We've covered the first and are currently looking at the second, which is comprised first of two sections, the general preliminary practices for each sessions, which we've covered, and the second section, the specific preliminary practice for the yogas of the two phases. This is comprised of two subsections, the common preliminaries that cultivate the field of one's mind stream, with the four practices of turning the mind, namely the four mind changings. These we've covered. We're now looking at the second subsection, the uncommon special preliminaries that sow the seeds of the profound path in 5 stages. This is what we're looking at now. So this is comprised of the 5 stages, namely taking refuge at the entrance to the path, arousing the mind set on supreme enlightenment, the root of the whole path, both of which we've covered. And we're now looking at the third, purifying negative actions and obscurations, which are unfavorable conditions on the path, instructions on the meditation of Vajrasattva. So we're currently looking at the practice of the meditation of Vajrasattva. In this meditation of Vajrasattva, it purifies negative actions and obscurations, these being the unfavorable conditions on the path. The explanation of this meditation on Vajrasattva is comprised of 2 sections, general points to be understood, and the points of the training in this case. We've covered the first, the general points, and today we come to the points of training in this case, meaning how to engage in this practice, the meditation of Vajrasattva, in this specific Ngondro. So, an explanation of how to apply the practice in the specific case following the liturgy we find in this specific Ngondro. So the explanation proper of the meditation of Vajrasattva, all its various aspects, we have covered in the previous section, which gave us an overview, a more general explanation, an overview of what the meditation of Vajrasattva in the preliminaries is about. So the most important points have been covered. So today we come to the second closing section, clarification of the points of the training in this case. Begin by arousing bodhicitta, thinking, in order to purify all the negative actions and so on that I and others have accumulated since time without beginning and a series of lives in cyclic existence, I will begin the meditation and recitation of the teacher Vajrasattva. So this means that this meditation of Vajrasattva, just like all the previous practice, just like all practices we do, must be infused with and motivated by bodhicitta. Our practice meditation of Vajrasattva needs to involve the 3 excellences, so the excellent preparation of bodhicitta, the excellent main part beyond concepts, and the excellent conclusion of dedication. This is how we create the vast waves, so to speak, the vast powerful waves of virtue, powerful waves of virtue on the Mahayana path. So, whatever practice we're doing, this practice, even the recitation of a single Mani mantra, it must be motivated by bodhicitta. Only then does it become genuine, authentic. So this is the importance of bodhicitta, infusing all of our practice with bodhicitta, and the 3-fold excellence, or the 3 excellences, just cannot be stressed enough. So what we're doing here is the practice of Vajrasattva, which is focused on purifying misdeeds and obscurations. And you find some people who have doubts or misunderstandings about non-virtue. So, like one very kind of big meaning like high-ranking businessman once asked me, he said, in this life I haven't really done any great non-virtue. I haven't really done any kind of significant non-virtue. I also haven't done any significant virtue. I've passed my life working in offices doing this kind of work, which is, it's neither like specifically virtuous nor non-virtuous. So what kind of karma do you think I'm accumulating? What kind of lifetime, what kind of rebirth do you think I'll take in the future? So well, first of all, I thought it's not quite like that. No matter who we are always creating non-virtue, right? But just as we go about our daily actions, we are sometimes dishonest. Even when we're joking, sometimes our joke involves deceiving people. We do all sorts of actions, just on a daily basis, motivated by the affliction. So we're always creating non-virtue. Of course, this man wasn't aware of this, so first of all I pointed that out. And then I said, it's also when we talk about karma, we're not talking just about this life. We're talking about all of our past lives. Our past lives are literally countless, beyond count. And in all of those lifetimes we have taken from time without beginning, we have accumulated so much karma, right? So much non-virtue, mountains and mountains of non-virtue, and it's the karma from our past lives, not just this life, that will determine where we're reborn in our future lives. So it's not determined just by what we do in this life, but also by a great accumulation of karma from past lives. And also the result that certain karmic causes, meaning actions, lead to, the way that karma ripens is complex, right? We touched on this before. You might perform an action with a certain intention, but the performance of that action might be of a different nature, like a positive intention but a negative action, negative intention, positive action, and so on and so forth. And then we have so many other aspects of karma as well. So it's really quite complex. We can't say simply that, I've done this and this and this and that in this life, so therefore I am guaranteed this and that rebirth, this and that karmic fruition in my next life. So the Buddhist understanding of karma is very different from the understanding of karma in a Hindu context, where karma is more like a predestined fate. And indeed, anyway, in the Hindu traditions, just like other theistic traditions, followers believe not in karma, cause and condition, but they believe rather in an almighty creator, some kind of omnipotent force. However, we believe as followers of Buddha that all experiences, all occurrences are created by one's own karma. So everything is all occurrences are interdependent occurrences coming from causes and conditions, namely the causes and conditions produced by our own deeds. So as it says here, all the obscurations and so on that I and others have accumulated since time without beginning in our series of lives. So what I was just speaking about is just to emphasize, just to make clear the fact that we have been accumulating karma, habitual tendencies, misdeeds, since time without beginning. We have mountains of accumulated karma. And how to purify these? Well, there's no greater method than this meditation of Vajrasattva. There is nothing greater than the meditation of the form of Vajrasattva and the recitation of his 100-syllable mantra. So, understanding this, we think, I will therefore begin the meditation and recitation of the teacher or the Guru of Vajrasattva. So this is the motivation with which we begin our practice. We begin by arousing bodhicitta in this way. So this comprises the first of the three excellences, the excellent preparation of bodhicitta. Now we come to the main part, the excellent main part without concept. So how is that practiced in this instant? Well, for this, consider that your own body is in its ordinary form, and that above the crown of your head is 1,000-petaled white lotus and so on. So you remain in your ordinary form. There's no self-visualization in this context. You're in your ordinary common form, and above the crown of your head, 4 fingers width breadth above your head is 1,000-petaled white lotus. Its stalk is planted in the crown opening of the top of your head, the crown aperture. On top of the flower's fully developed clusters of anthers is a full moon disk. Full moon disk means the moon during full moon, right? So full orb of the moon. Visualize upon it a clear, bright white syllable hung. So clear like crystal, bright, glowing with light, from which inconceivable rays of 5-colored light, white, yellow, red, green, and blue, radiate out into all directions, all 10 directions, making offerings to please the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas in the 10 directions. Making pleasing offerings to all of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and likewise purifying all sentient beings of their negative actions and obscurations. So first these light rays radiate out and present offerings to all of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, and they radiate out to all sentient beings, purify all of their negative karma and obscurations, and then the light rays are gathered back and dissolve back into the hung from which they radiated out. So they dissolve back into the hung, this clear, radiant hung. And this syllable hung then transforms into your kind root guru in the form of Bhagavan, glorious Vajrasattva. So your kind root teacher, well, exactly who that is depends on you, on who your personal root teacher, root guru is. But as we've said before, you can, if you have many root gurus, you can dissolve them all, combine them all into one form. So, in short, when we say root guru, we're talking mainly about the root guru who has shown you the 3 kindnesses: the kindness of bestowing empowerment, bestowing transmission, bestowing instructions. So, bestowing empowerment, tantric transmission, and instructions. So this is what it really means. Also for the lay students, in a more common sense, we can say the root guru is the teacher you follow, that you go to for advice and so on. But if we talk about it in more detail, more authentically, root teacher is a teacher who has shown you this 3-fold kindness of bestowing tantric empowerment, transmission, and with instructions. Such a teacher is a root teacher. His body, so the body of Vajrasattva, so this just to repeat once more, the syllable hung transforms into Bhagavan, glorious Vajrasattva, who is your kind root gurus. In essence, Vajrasattva's body is white as a conch, clear as a crystal, brilliant as the sun. He has a radiant face, attractive and smiling. So a glowing, smiling face, and is effulgent with the splendor of the major and minor marks. So there's lots of details here. If we were to go through all of them, like the 32 major and 80 minor marks, then we'd have to look in the Prashparamita treatise, the Ornament of Clear Realization, and so on, where all of these enlightened marks are enumerated and described one by one. He's one-faced and two arms. He has one face, he has two arms. His right hand holds a 5-pointed vajra at the level of his heart. And there's a lot to say about each of these features. So what each of these features symbolizes, what they symbolize, what they express, their symbolic significance. His right hand holds a 5-pointed vajra at the level of his heart. With his left hand on his hip holding a bell, he embraces his consort. His consort Vajratopa, he's seated cross-legged in the diamond posture, so with a full Vajra posture. His dark blue hair is tied up with a jeweled ribbon and ornamented with a crown jewel. He's bedecked with the 5 silken garments. So his hair is tied up on the top of his head and tied up with a jeweled ribbon and ornamented with a crown jewel. So the tip is ornamented with a crown jewel. So he's in the Sambhogakaya form and has his hair arranged therefore in this way. He's bedecked with the 5 silken garments, so namely an upper garment of gold embroidered white silk, a multicolored skirt, a many-colored tasseled headdress, a 2-colored blue silk sash, and a long dancing shawl. So a multicolored skirt, or sometimes this is interpreted as we could say a kind of crimson-colored skirt, or red skirt, but here it's translated as multicolored skirt. That's just one other meaning of the same word, so that's fine. A many-colored tasseled headdress. A 2-colored blue silk sash and a long dancing shawl. So these are the 5 silken garments. So when it says a 2-colored blue silk sash, this is maybe not exactly the same, but you could think of like a pashmina or a shawl that women often wear these days, sort of draped around their shoulders and then around their arms. And it's dark blue in colour. And then he is also adorned with the 8 jewel ornaments, a crown, so a crown with the 5 Buddha families, earrings, and then a necklet, a short necklace reaching down to the breast. So a necklet is a very short necklace. A short necklace reached down to the breast. Bracelets and anklets. A girdle or a belt. And then a necklace. A very long necklace. A very long necklace made from pearls or the like. On his lap, in union with him, is his self-radiance, the consort Vajratopa. So as it says here, his self-radiance. So when we see the deity in union with the consort, we should understand the union and the consort in this way. The consort is the deity's own radiance. So this is not 2 figures having intercourse in an ordinary, mundane sense, but rather the consort is the radiance of the deity themselves, the natural radiance, or we could say the appearing aspect, the aspect of clarity or luminosity. So this is a natural expression of natural unity, the unity of emptiness and appearance and so on. So in this way, he's united with his self-radiance in the form of the consort Vajrayotopa, who is white and has the youthful appearance of a 16-year-old and is adorned with the 5 symbolic ornaments. She's embracing him, her hands round his neck, holding a curved knife and a skull, and her feet are entwined around him in the loose posture. So, what this signifies is the indivisibility of appearance and emptiness, the inseparability of primordial inseparability of awareness and emptiness, appearance and emptiness, bliss and emptiness. These are a natural unity, they are primordially, originally inseparable. And this is naturally expressed by the union of these deities, by the consort embracing the deity in this way, entwining her arms around his neck and so on. So as Sarah has said, emptiness free of compassion, this is not the supreme path. Compassion, but equally compassion without emptiness, this is also not the path. It's the unity of emptiness and appearance that is the path to Buddhahood. So emptiness is and must be the natural unity of appearance and emptiness. These two, appearance and emptiness, are a natural unity, inseparable, beyond meeting and parting. So this is we call emptiness endowed with the supreme aspect. Emptiness that is the natural unity and inseparability of appearance and emptiness. So hence we have the Vajrasattva embraced by his consort. Both of them display the 9 modes of expression of the peaceful deities. Supple, so like very soft, lithe, entwining. So running through these 9 modes of expression, or we could say like 9 qualities of the peaceful deities: supple, lithe, entwining, graceful, youthful, clear-eyed, lustrous, giving out a sense of grandeur and radiantly majestic. So really giving out a sense of grandeur, so exactly that, very with a real kind of sense of presence, very handsome and radiantly majestic. They endlessly emanate infinite rays of light. They are the essence of bliss and emptiness, inseparable. The radiating out and gathering back of light rays is the best way, supreme way to enact the enlightened activities, this radiating out and gathering back of light rays. And when practicing this, then we should be aware of the instruction on the 4 nails that bind the life force. These are instructions that are practiced and vital in all practices. They are emphasized, I guess, in the Nyingma tradition. Patrul Rinpoche wrote a text explaining the 4 nails that bind the life, 4 nails or stakes that bind the life force, explaining these 4. So really to talk about this process and practice of emanating out and gathering back light rays, we need to talk about the 4 stakes that bind the life force. In Guru Rinpoche's Purba Bumna text, he gives a vast explanation of this. But indeed, whichever deity you're practicing, Guru Vajrasattva, Guru Rinpoche, whichever deity it is, you need these 4 stakes that bind the life force, and the 3 qualities of clarity, stability, and purity. So there are many ways to visualize or generate the mandala deities. Likewise, there's the three qualities of purity, perfection, and ripening. And again, clarity, stability, and purity. So clear appearance, stable pride, and pure symbolism. So these are really vital points, vital aspects of generation stage practice, of deity practice. 4 stakes that bind the life force are, they're called stakes. They're stakes like tent pegs that peg the tent down into the ground and make it stable, so that it can't be blown away by the wind and so on. So in the same way, these 4 stakes, these 4 principles that are called the 4 stakes, when applied to the practice, they make one's practice invincible, stable, powerful. So to go through that's just to mention those 4 stakes. The first of which is the stake of vivid, clear visualization, which refers to visualizing the deity as clearly, vividly as possible, with divine pride and with a recollection of what all of the aspects of the visualization symbolize. Then we have the stake of the recited mantra, which is to recite the respective mantra, the mantra of whichever deity you're practicing, and then involves visualization of the seed syllable and the mantra and the mantra garland and so on. And then we have the mantra of the activity of radiating out and gathering back light rays, the third of the 4 stakes. So when we apply this various types of visualization involving radiating out and gathering back light rays, or we'd say projecting and dissolving light rays, we're actually enacting the enlightened activities of pacifying, increasing, magnetizing, and subjugating. By radiating out white, yellow, red, and green or blue light rays, which respectively express the peaceful, wrathful, pacifying, increasing, magnetizing, and subjugating activities of the Buddhas. So in this way, we're actually enacting the enlightened activities right now, here on the path, as an ordinary being. This is a method for us to, even now in this context, present context of training on the path, to enact and train in the enlightened activities. Likewise, we have the tantric inner tantric offerings of Amrita, Rakta, and Torma. Torma or Balinta is the first of the 5 meats. We have the 5 raktas, the 5 types of Amrita, which transcend notions of clean and unclean, pure and impure. So these inner offerings of Amrita, Rakta, and Torma are so precious. And when using these in your practice, offering these in your practice, then you should have specific substances, actually, substances. There's a specific Amrita substance, Rakta substance, and so on, and you should acquire these and put them in your offerings. Offerings Amrita, Rakta, and Torma. So these inner offerings of Amrita, Rakta, and Torma are actually incredibly profound expressions and incredibly profound skillful means for transcending the duality of purity, impurity, and so on, for enacting inner transformation. So, Charachandra, the projecting and dissolving of light rays, this is the enlightened activity. This is enlightened activity. For instance, When the bodhisattvas on the 10th bhumi reach the very end of that bhumi, then the Buddhas radiate out light rays, the fully enlightened ones radiate light rays from the crown of between their eyebrows. And these light rays strike the 10th bodhisattva, 10th bhumi bodhisattvas, and those light rays then purify the most subtle of subtle habitual tendencies, the latent tendencies and remaining dualistic fixation. Purify the very last obscurations of those bodhisattvas, and that is how they then reach the path of no more learning, the state of perfect Buddhahood. So, in this way, the enlightened activities are performed by means of the emanating out and dissolving back of light rays, in this and many other ways. And we actually put this into practice ourselves as practitioners on the path by applying this third state, the third state of radiating out and emanating light rays. So the scholars here will be very familiar with all of these points, these very important points. And then we have the fourth stake of unchanging dharmata, or unchanging wisdom. So you might think, why are you mentioning all of these complex points? It's enough just to say everything is pure, isn't it? It's enough just to say, well, everything is pure, everything is infinitely pure, that's just how it is. Well, yes, that is how it is. But there are reasons why it said everything is pure, and there are ways to establish that. There are actually lines of logic and reasonings that establish the primordial purity of all things, of everything that appears and exists. So mentioning these things helps us gain certainty and understanding in the natural purity of all phenomena, right? So, in the fourth stake involves a recollection of this natural purity, the infinite purity, resting in the natural state, in the wisdom, in the wisdom state, in the recollection of, or in the wisdom state, the natural state, which is infinite purity. So if we practice with these four stakes, if our practice involves these four stakes, then our practice is alive, it's fresh and alive. Without these four stakes, then our practice is kind of without a heart, we could say without a heart and without life. And we brought up these four stakes with reference to the radiating out and gathering back of light rays that we perform in this practice of Vajrasattva, right? The meditation of Vajrasattva. So, as I said, projecting and dissolving light rays, and in this way presenting pleasing offerings to all of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas of the 10 directions, purifying the obscurations of all beings in samsara, dissolving the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas' blessing into ourselves and so on. We can enact these activities by means of the projecting and dissolving of light rays. Of course, the degree to which we can do this, really do this, depends on our own capacity, right? We won't gain full, proper capacity to do this until we reach Buddhahood ourselves. But that doesn't mean we can apply this visualization and train in this. And after all, it's by training in these things that we develop our potential, right? That we will reach the point where we have the full, real capacity to do this, to enact enlightened activities for real. So, the same goes with visualization. Best is if we can visualize the deity, say so in this context Vajrasattva, if we can visualize their entire form all at once. And as a method to develop the visualization, strength and clarity of visualization, you can focus on, start at the crown of the deity, visualize first of all their crown, then slowly the different aspects of their face, and move down through their body, visualizing, cultivating a clear, vivid visualization of each aspect of the body bit by bit. So this relates to the four stakes. the stake of the generation stage, the visualization of the deity. So these 4 stakes, they condense the vital points of the Guyagaba Tantra and how to apply the Guyagaba Tantra in practice. This is important, right? Otherwise, you can end up studying very vast texts like the Guyagaba Tantra, but then at the end of it, if someone asks you, well, how do you put that into practice? How do you apply that? You might end up you might have no idea, right? So whatever study you do, however extensive, you need to know how to gather all of those extensive points into their crucial points and how to apply them in practice. Otherwise, you can end up like a geshe who studied for 30 years and is a very great scholar, but doesn't actually know how to practice the 3 excellences or something like that. So we have the 11 principles of mantra as taught in the Guyagaba Tantra. Well, how to actually put those into practice? How to train in those? Well, you train in those by means of the 4 stakes that bind the life force. So, for instance, one of the 11 principles is mantra. So we train in mantra through the 4 stages of approach and accomplishment. This is the second of the 4 stakes. These aspects are taught in the Guyagaba Tantra in I think the 9th, 10th and 11th chapters of the Guyagaba Tantra. Approach, accomplishment, and then also activity application. And the different types of visualization, the different types of projecting and dissolving light rays. So these are also applied by means of the 3rd stake, the stake of enlightened activity, enacted through projecting and dissolving light rays. And then we have the 4th stake of unchanging wisdom. Unchanging wisdom, the natural state, which is the inseparable truth of great purity and great equality. So these points I mention, I'm mentioning in brief here, mainly for the scholars here, the scholars who are already familiar with the Guyagaba Tantra, and to whom I've taught the Guyagaba Tantra. There are many of you here have studied the Guyagaba Tantra and studied it with me. So these points are not so relevant for the lay students, but that said, they're not without importance, they are extremely important. So to have some understanding, some exposure is very important. To know, so in short, to know what is meant by pure perception, by boundless purity, the purity of appearance and existence. And as I said, Pater Rinpoche wrote, I think, a text of 20 or so folios, focused on explaining the 4 states that bind the life force. This is translated in English in a book called Deity, Mantra and Wisdom. And then Guru Rinpoche gave an even more detailed explanation in his Purva Bhumna.
oya tenzo tamjingone tentilge sarkar tikwa samgi mekyo tumo mai be yende re yorede danza giluk nyingwa sarkya lafa che lamsang chukwa shoto karo kese mani nyoge che na taranga shiuga lo yo ngal gebo jeni.
Recently, I met someone who seemed to be a great scholar. Anyway, I met them for the first time, and I said, "Oh, from which Dharma tradition are you? You know, from Kagyu, Nyingma, and so on." And instead of sort of saying, "I'm Kagyu, I'm Nyingma, and Geluk, what have you," they said, "Oh, I'm just someone who recites the Mani mantra." You know, which is a kind of smart answer. So maybe they thought that I might criticize them or be critical of them, depending on kind of which school they told me they followed. But all of the four great traditions, right, four great schools, Kagyu, Nyingma, Gelug, Sakya, they are all extraordinary schools and traditions, right, each with their own unique and special qualities. They are all extraordinary, exceptional traditions with their own unique features. But these days it seems the followers of the different schools are just always on the verge of getting into fights with each other, which is not how it should be. So these various aspects of the generation stage are taught in all of the four major traditions, Kagyu, Gelug, Sakya, Nyingma. For instance, the three vital qualities of visualization, clarity, clear appearance, stable pride, pure recollection, and so on. These various lists of qualities that I mentioned. But the four stakes that bind the life force, this teaching on the four stakes that bind the life force, I'm not sure that actually exists, at least in that format, in that format with that terminology and so on in other traditions. Also, the content and the main points, those instructions will be present, but presented as this pith instruction of the four states that bind the life force. I think this seems to be something unique to the Nyingma school. So Mipa Rinpoche, wrote a text, an explanation of all of the four major schools, Kagyu, Nyingma, and so on, highlighting their special features, their unique qualities. He said the Gelug tradition, or the Gendimpa tradition, is the tradition of scripture and reasoning. The tradition of pith instructions is the Nyingma tradition. The tradition of meditative practice is the Kagyu tradition. And I think the tradition of scholarship and exegesis is the Sakya tradition. So each tradition has its own unique qualities and character and special, extraordinary qualities. So there's no need to kind of be hesitant about stating which tradition you're from or what have you. All these traditions, I think in short, we can say, Rinpoche is saying all these traditions are equally valuable. They have different characters and features, and all are equally precious and valuable. So we visualize Guru Vajrasattva, radiant white, and we visualize him in the way just described. And we visualize the entire environment around us as the Pure Land of the joyful Pure Land of Vajrasattva. All pure and radiant white. Visualize all other beings, male and female, as male and female deities. So to bring to mind the purity of appearance and existence, or the environment and beings in this way, so to visualize in this way, recollect in this way, while reciting the mantra and visualizing the deity and so on, to think, even though I'm perceiving the world in this impure way, this ordinary way, cars and houses and so on surround me, in reality this is a pure realm. In reality all of these people around me are deities and so on. That is to practice the fourth of these four stakes, the stake of unchanging wisdom, to recollect the natural, the great inseparability of primordial purity and equality. So, when practicing the generation stage, there are 4 different types of generation stage taught, different styles of generating the deity, and these relate to the 4 different types of birth, or to 4 different ways in which beings can take birth, namely taking birth from a womb, from an egg, from heat and moisture, and taking birth miraculously or spontaneously. So there, in correspondence to these 4 ways that beings take birth, beings in samsara take birth, there are 4 styles of generation stage, each of which function to purify one of these 4 ways of birth. In any case, we won't go into those details, but such details do exist. In Vajrasattva's heart is a fully bloomed 8-petaled white lotus, and in the middle of its anthers a full moon disk. On top of that, visualize a 5-pointed white clear crystal Vajra in an upright position. And in the center of its hollow hub, an upright white syllable hung, encircled by the letters of the 100-syllable mantra, starting from the front and turning to the right. So we visualize just like this. In the center of Vajrasattva's heart, meaning in the center of his chest, stands a clear crystal Vajra. In the central orb is a syllable. Stands the syllable hung. It's encircled by sort of entwined, we could say, encircled by the 100-syllable mantra, starting from the front, meaning the first syllable om, in the front of the hung, and turning to the right. It's shining like mercury, so the hung and all the other syllables shine like mercury and spontaneously emit the sound of the mantra. They're self-resounding. Next, full of regret for all of the negative actions and downfalls you've accumulated in your series of lives since time without beginning. So this is the power of regret, and also the power of resolve, firmly vowing not to repeat them in the future. Think of the teacher Vajrasattva above your head as the essence of all the Buddhas of past, present and future, generous, boundless devotion such that tears well up in your eyes. Pray to him from the depth of your heart, supplicate him wholeheartedly, and then recite the 100 syllables, concentrating on the mantra garland, meaning the 100 syllables encircling the hum that is in his heart, as if you were reading it, and most importantly, reciting it as a prayer. O my teacher Vajrasattva, in you I put my trust. O Vajrasattva, inseparable with my precious root Guru, in you I place my trust. Think of me, look upon me. And as you recite, an endless nectar stream of blessings flows down, glistening like mercury. So a cascade, you could say like drops, droplets dropping down one by one. So the syllables of the mantra, they start dripping, basically, dripping with blessings that glisten like mercury. In the Nyingtik Vajrasattva practice, it describes the visualization of this as like dripping, I think she said like dripping camphor, but excuse me if I've made a mistake there. Anyway, it's described in a specific way, and anyway, that description of the dripping of nectar actually relates to a Hindu story. Hindu story of Wangchuk, which if you're not familiar with that, then the metaphor wouldn't make sense to one. Anyway, I mentioned that because a lot of the practitioners here might be familiar with Longchen Nyingtik Ngondro. Pouring down through the bodies of the deity and his consort, it emerges from the point of their union, swirls down the lotus stem, and so on. So think of how water runs through a drain, right? Or a ditch, like an irrigation channel. When the water first enters it and starts flowing through the irrigation channel. So you should visualize like that. The stream of nectar descends from Vajrasattva and enters you through the crown of your head. And it streams down into your body, flows down into your body from your crown of your head, all the way down to your chest and further below. And just like that first flush of water flowing through a ditch or rushing through a ditch and taking away with it all of the dust and leaves and so on accumulated there, in the same way as this nectar enters us, flows down through our body, gushers through us, it takes with it all of our misdeeds and obscurations, our illnesses and obstacles in the form of pus and blood, insects, spiders and the like, and sooty, dirty water. And all of these flow out of us so that we are washed clean. So these days, so you hear some people say, sometimes I have people come to me and say, "Oh, Rinpoche, I don't do anything to harm others, but I have so many people harming me, criticizing me, what have you." And in response, I've advised some of those people to practice Vajrasattva, and I haven't heard any more from them about this. So, sorry. Sorry, this is. Sorry, to backtrack. A lot of people, especially up in Humla, maybe this isn't the case so much up in Kathmandu, but up in Humla, people will people have the idea that there is a lot of spirits and negative forces and spirits that can affect one and harm one and cause problems for one. So a lot of people seem to believe that. Anyway, to purify oneself of all such interference and harm from negative spirits, well, Vajrasattva practice does exactly that. So sometimes I advise Vajrasattva practice for people who feel they're affected by spirits. You can visualize all of that interference from negative forces and spirits being washed out from you in the form of spiders and scorpions and so on. So pouring down through the bodies of the deity and his consort. And again, as we see in the explanation of the visualization on the previous page, the consort Vajra-atopa is embracing Lord Vajrasattva with her arms and legs entwined around him. So that this is exactly what it means. The Tibetan word has this very clear connotation of entwining, embracing. But these days, a lot of Thanga painters, and maybe sculptors as well, are drawing the deities in union with the female deity holding her arms straight out over the shoulders of the male. This is not what's meant by entwined. The arms should be wrapping around, as you see in older Tankas, in correct Tankas. So maybe there is some context where the arms are meant to be straight, but that's. But when it says that the consort entwines the deity, then that's exactly what it means. The arms are wrapped around, not just straight out. Anyway, this is for the Thanga painters here. This is an important detail, especially for the Thangkas painter here. It's very important that they base all of their work on the authentic scriptures and don't change the appearance of the deities and so on just to fit their own whims. That's actually very negative karma. So every illness in the form of pus, blood and lymph, all kinds of negative forces. So that's what I was speaking about a moment ago. If people feel they're affected by, or indeed are affected by negative forces, spirits and the like, these are flushed out of one in the form of animals and insects, and every one of your negative actions and obscurations in the form of liquid smoke and liquid charcoal, all are rinsed out like particles of dirt being flushed away by water, pouring down a drain pipe. So you should imagine this, all of this filthy water, lice and insects and pus and blood pouring out of you, pouring out of your lower orifices, pouring out of the pores of your skin. And indeed you might, through the power of this kind of practice and the power of purification, if you have dreams of this same thing happening, or vomiting pus and blood and filth and so on, vomiting or a lot of filthy stuff, then that's can be a sign of purification occurring. Trickling through the 2 lower orifices and all the pores of your skin, they percolate down to 9 levels underneath the earth and so on. Consider that your body and mind are filled with untainted bliss. So it's while visualizing this that you recite the 100-syllable mantra. So first of all, you generate the visualization with the lines of liturgy. Above my crown, on a lotus and sun moon seat, and so on. And while visualizing that, visualize what we just described. You recite the mantra assiduously as many times as you can, 100, 1,000, 10,000, and so on. Then, all that while performing that visualization, at the end of the session, fold your hands together and pray as follows. O Protector, Lord Guru, in ignorance and confusion, I've transgressed and deteriorated my commitments, my samaya. My teacher and protector, give me refuge, O Supreme Diamond Holder, Vajra Holder, embodiment of great compassion. To you, Lord of Beings, I go for refuge. I acknowledge and part from all my deteriorations and breaches to the root and branch commitments of body, speech and mind. I beg you, cleanse and purify all the stains of my negative actions, obscurations, faults and downfalls. As a result of your prayer, as a result of this prayer, your body becomes transparent, completely clear, inside and out. So this body, at least on the common context, is a heap of filthy substances made of the 37 impure substances enumerated in the sutra teachings. All of our vital organs, pus, blood, sinew, feces, urine. It's just a heap of impure substances. Of course, in the tantric teachings, and the body is said to be the mandala of the deities. But in a common context of the teachings, it's taught to be a pile of filth. And also in our common experience. So as it says, devoid of flesh, your body becomes transparent inside and out like a heap of crystal, devoid of flesh, blood, bones, dirt and foul matter, indeed the impure substances that comprise our ordinary body. The whole inside of your body is white, completely filled by the stream of nectar. All your negative actions and obscurations, your negative actions of body, speech and mind, the 10 virtues and so on, all obscurations have been completely purified, cleansed, washed away. All of the root and branch samayas as taught in the Guhyagarbha Tantra, or the include, as well as the samayas of the great perfection, the samayas of the Guru's body, speech and mind, and so on and so forth. All of these have been utterly purified and cleansed. Imagine that Vajrasattva smiles with pleasure and grants your prayer, saying, "Fortunate child, all your negative actions, obscurations, faults and downfalls are purified."
Shenata Manguji Shegu Redu, Tanta Manguji Shegu Redu, Tandizo Tamjela, Manguji Labdena Tuzuki Sansaya.
So a lot to say, just a lot to say about all of this. But again, as usual, we are limited in time. So when we speak of the samayas of enlightened body, speech and mind, they're not mentioned specifically here, but as in the Treasure of Precious Qualities by Jigme Lingpa, the samaya of enlightened body, speech and mind, or kaya vakachita, described. So this includes the outer samayas, which means the outer samayas are to shun the 10 non-virtues. So to shun the non-virtuous actions of body, these pertain to the samaya of enlightened body. Then to shun the non-virtues of speech, lying, harsh speech and so on. These relate to the samayas of enlightened speech, or we could say the Guru's speech. And so this and other points are taught in Jigme Lingpa's Treasure of Precious Qualities. So he explains the samayas of Guru's body, speech and mind, all of which have outer, inner and secret aspects. So the outer aspect of these samayas of body, speech and mind is to shun the non-virtues of body, speech and mind. And the inner aspect of these samayas is to maintain the visualization, perception of the pure form of the deity. So, just as it's taught to see earth as earth. If you see earth as earth, you are transgressing on samaya. If you see earth as a Buddha, a Sangit Janma, then you're maintaining your samaya. So, to maintain the recollection of the deity, maintain the recollection of sound as mantra and awareness as wisdom. These are the inner aspects of the samayas of body, speech and mind. And then there's a secret level of these three samayas that relate to the subtle channels, winds and essences. So it goes so deep. These three samayas the samayas go so deep, and you can look at Khenpo Yonten Gyatso's commentary on the Treasure of Precious Qualities. You can look there as well for a very detailed explanation of the samayas of enlightened body, speech and mind, or Guru's body, speech and mind. So the outer level of the samaya involves shunning, as I said, the 10 non-virtues, and also avoiding any physical, verbal actions that disturb the Guru's body and mind, like actually physically harming the teacher and so on. And then on an innermost secret level, you have these samayas are to maintain recollection of deity, mantra and wisdom, and then the innermost level to maintain recognition of the state of the great perfection. And we also have the 25-fold division of samaya, 5 samayas to be accomplished, to be known, to not be abandoned, and so on. In the Goigaba Tantra specifically, we have 5 root samayas. So if you maintain these 5 root samayas of the Goigaba, actually all other samayas are included in these. Do not forsake the unsurpassable, the view of inseparable purity and equality. Venerate the Guru. Maintain the practice of mantra and mudra. Maintain affection for those on the unsurpassable path. Maybe these four, and then the fifth, which the fifth, which I think is the do not reveal that which is secret to those who are not fit recipients. Maybe these five, which are taught in the Guhyagarbha Tantra, and which you can find in various sources. These are the 5 root samayas of the Guhyagarbha Tantra, and as I said, if you keep them, then you're keeping, let's say, all other samayas are essentially contained in these. So these are the tantric samayas. At the level of the personal liberation, the vehicle of characteristics, or more simply speaking, we'd say the sutra or Hinayana level, we have the vows of 7 types of vow, the vows of novice and fully ordained monastics and so on. And then we have the inner vows of the bodhisattvas, and then the tantric samayas, which we've just been talking about. So all transgressions, shortcomings, downfalls of all levels of vows, from the personal liberation vows up to the samayas, are completely purified by this Vajrasattva practice. So you imagine that all your negative actions and obscurations, all your transgressions and downfalls have been purified and cleansed. Now Vajrasattva smiles with pleasure and so on. Dissolves, melts into light and dissolves into you. And immediately Vajrasattva and his consort melt into white light and dissolve into you. You yourself are completely transformed into Vajrasattva with his consort as visualized earlier. So in an instant you become Vajrasattva with consort. So this is one of the 4 styles of generation stage. Instantaneous visualization. So I mentioned there are 4 styles of generation. 4 styles of generation stage of giving rise to generating the visualization of the deity related to the 4 types of rebirth, right? So one of them is, we call instantaneous visualization, which is just through an instant of recollection. The visualization is present and complete. So this corresponds to miraculous birth, instantaneous birth. And she ran through the other 3 types of generation stage, which relate to, first of all, birth from an egg, which is the generation stage relating to that is more very detailed and gradual and intended for those of Dhala capacity. Then there are styles of visualization which relate to womb birth. They're not quite so gradual, but still gradual. Then there's the style of visualization which relates to and purifies birth from heat and moisture, which is where you just you utter the name of the deity or the name mantra of the deity, and with that the deity is generated. Then we have finally the 4th type of visualization, instantaneous visualization, which is how we visualize ourselves as Vajrasattva here. In an instant you are transformed into Vajrasattva and his consort, all imagined in a flash, right? From the vital seed syllable in the heart, surrounded by the quintessential mantra of 6 syllables, rays of light emanate, filling space. So Om here, Om. So these syllables here, Om Vajra Sattva Hum, embody the 5 Buddha families with Akshobhya in the center. So Hung is blue, embodying Akshobhya. The Vajra family. Om is white for Vairochana of the Buddha family, and so on. You can look for the words of my perfect teacher for a more detailed explanation of this, and what color the syllables are, and so on. All impure perceptions resulting from attachment are purified, together with habitual tendencies. So yeah, do look at the words of my perfect teacher for a more detailed explanation of this point of the practice. Consider that the whole universe outside becomes the unexcelled Buddha field of manifest joy. This is the Buddha field of Vajrasattva. All the beings in it become none other than Vajrasattva, male and female. From their mouths, the sound of the mantra resounds like the buzzing of bees from a bee's nest that has been broken open. So this constant whir, this constant hum of mantra. So everything, all sounds in the environment, the sound of water, wind, everything is the sound of mantra. All negative actions and obscurations are purified. I become like a heap of crystal. So to this end, we recite these following lines of liturgy. These are lines from the Ngondro, specific Ngondro liturgy. All that appears and exists is viewed as purified as the infinite display. So this is an awareness, a vivid awareness of this, the natural state of boundless purity, the inseparability of great purity and equality. We need to arrive at a vivid recollection of that. Recite this mantra as much as you can, Om Vajrasattva Hung, while visualizing in this way. At the end, so you recite that mantra, Om Vajrasattva Hung, as much as you can, recollecting the purity and equality of everything that appears and exists, as described above. At the end, the universe and beings visualized as a Buddha field and deities all melt into light and dissolve into you. So, the universe and beings, the universe is visualized as a Buddha field, all buildings as divine mansions, all beings as deities. And we train in visualizing this, in visualizing the environment as the Buddha fields, and the beings as the male and female deities. In short, because that is their actual nature, the 5 elements that make up the external environment and so on are, by their very nature, primordially the 5 female Buddhas. The 5 aggregates are the 5 male Buddhas. This is the natural state of all things. So visualizing the Buddha field and beings as pure in this way is also a method for cutting through our attachment to the impure mundane world. So all of these, the universe and beings visualized as Buddha field and deities, melt into light and dissolve into you. So you are Vajrasattva, Guru Vajrasattva, right? You yourself then dissolve into the vital seed syllable in the heart, the Hung in your heart. So you should imagine that the entire world and environment and all other beings are completely dissolved into me, and then I, Vajrasattva, completely dissolved into the Hung in my heart. And now the Hung itself dissolves in stages from the bottom up into the nada, so from what we call the Shabgyu in Tibetan, which is the lowest part of this letter. From there, bit by bit, up into the top Bindu. So it says this again dissolves in stages from the bottom up into the nada. So just running through the different elements of the Tibetan syllable Hung. It's a stacked letter, and with various parts, Shebgyu, Ah, Hung, Ha, and so on. So, in short, the syllable dissolves from bottom up into the binju, the round shape at the top. That is called binju. So this part of the letter is called a binju, but what binju actually means is emptiness. And then into the nada, so the little curving kind of line at the top of the binju, which is the very tip of this letter, right? That is called the nada. So the syllable dissolves all the way up into that, and then that itself dissolves. The nada in turn vanishes into the state of emptiness. So, in that light, Rinpoche was saying, the binju, which has already dissolved at this point, its real meaning is emptiness. So, it completely dissolves into the state of emptiness, the non-conceptual clear light. So, one time, someone said to me, "What is meant by this meditation on emptiness? Emptiness is nothing. Emptiness means just nothing. So how can you meditate on emptiness? There's nothing to do. What is meant by all this talk of meditating on emptiness? You're just meditating on nothing, and what's the point of that?" Actually, this is how most of us are like, right? We're just like monkeys. We're so restless, we can't bear to sit still. So that's how we are as people, right? We're so restless and always keen to be doing something, and we also, that's how we also think that, if we're not doing something, if we're not being productive, then we're wasting our time. But when it comes to the practice of the great perfection, the great seal Mahamudra, the great middle way, then we are taught to practice to rest at ease in the uncontrived state, to rest at ease without fabrication, without contriving, without doing anything. And this is the very opposite of our habit, right? Our habit to always be productive, active, moving, creating. So, to rest at ease without fabricating, without doing anything, this can be very uncomfortable at first. We say, "Oh, just take it." We say, "Oh, just sit still, just take it easy, don't do anything." But we actually really struggle to do that, right? Even as a practitioner, we're much more comfortable with doing things, with visualizing and reciting tens of thousands of mantra a day, so that we wear ourselves out, our body, our speech, that we wear our mind out with things to visualize and reflect on and do. But then when it comes to the actually main heart of the practice, and we're told to just let be, not do anything, no active meditation, just letting be without fabricating, then even practitioners find this so challenging, right? But this is the state that we're being taught here to train in. So, whether it be because of our obscurations, our negative karma, our negative habits, our lack of training, we find it very difficult to actually rest at ease, to rest in natural ease without contriving, without fabricating. It sounds so wonderful, it sounds so pleasant, but it's actually, we find it very difficult to do because of our obscurations, karma, and habits. So, in one of Longchenpa's teachings, I think it's the Wish Fulfilling Treasury, he says, to this end, Longchenpa says, to begin with, you must train with constructs, meaning you must train with complexity. You must use your mind actively. must practice visualization, which involves a lot of active mental activity, visualizing this and that. It involves effort and complexity, and it involves concept actually. That is how one should train at the outset, and by training in that way, with concepts, then you will step by step, slowly but surely, reach the point where you can train without concepts. That conceptual training will actually erode your concepts, purify, wear out your concepts, so that you reach the point where you can just drop concepts and let be in an uncontrived state. So similar to one of the instructions in the, I think she said that some specific Chogyal teachings. I'm not talking about Chogyal itself here, but in that context it's sometimes said, just go out and do whatever you want. If you want to do stuff, if you feel, energetic, if you want to do something, then just go and do it, Just go and do it, and then basically wear yourself out. And then once you've worn yourself out in body and mind, then rest. So it's kind of like that. First of all, we train with concepts, right? We do a very active practice visualizing and reciting and using concepts. We focus on that, endeavor in that. And then we reach this point of the practice where everything dissolves into emptiness, the non-conceptual clear light. And we rest in that state, we arrive in that state. This is Vajrasattva. This is the real heart of Vajrasattva practice. Rest in evenness as long as you can, completely relaxed. Completely relaxed. Rest at ease. Just let be, just settle. There's different ways to translate these same terms. These are phrases we find in the Great Perfection teachings, right? Just let be, completely relaxed. Just let go, completely relaxed. Osho used to use these terms when teaching meditation, but these terms are actually from Great Perfection teachings. Rest in evenness like this as long as you can. Then, when you rise out of that state, dedicate the merit with such prayers as, by the merit of this, may I swiftly accomplish the nature of Vajrasattva, and so on. So this is the excellent conclusion of dedication. So in this way, the practice is contained within the framework of the three excellences, right? Bodhicitta, the main part, without concepts, and dedication. May I swiftly accomplish the nature of Vajrasattva, Vajrasattva's body, speech and mind, and thereby not leaving out a single sentient being, may I establish all of them in this very level. So, we must dedicate the merit of our practice, right? Practice of Vajrasattva, likewise our practice of Gurumshe, our prostrations, Kora, whatever it is. We must dedicate the merit to enlightenment, otherwise that merit will run out, it will be destroyed. It said, those with few desires belong to the family of noble beings. And those with no desire at all, they are the family of Buddhas. Okay. So those with few desires belong to the family of noble beings, the family of practitioners, an exalted family. Exalted family, by family we mean type, right? Type or class. Those who have exhausted their desires belong to the family of arhats. They've attained the state of arhatship. And those who have no desire whatsoever, who have transcended desire, we could say, belong to the family of Buddhas, meaning they are the perfect, they are the enlightened ones. So we need to train in detachment, in reducing our desires, and cultivating contentment. So practice in this way and then continue with your everyday activities. Until you have signs that you've purified your negative actions and obscurations, it's important to be completely concentrated on the visualization and to do the recitation without distraction. So until you have clear signs that you've purified your negative actions, signs of, for instance, in your dreams of vomiting or purging, washing, dressing in white and so on, you must continue to concentrate completely on the visualization just as explained. So with bodhicitta, visualizing Vajrasattva, visualizing his form, the mantra in his heart, reciting the mantra, visualizing the descent of the cascade of nectar flowing through you, washing you clean, and so on and so forth. And you need to do this without distraction, otherwise, as Guru Rinpoche says, if you're distracted with your mind elsewhere, even reciting for a couple will bring no results. So if you do this Vajrasattva practice, but your mind is wandering off thinking about your business, your family, your farming, your this and that, then even if you recite for years, literally for an eon, very little benefit will come about. That said, what's the really heart of the heart of this practice? The vital point of the practice? It is just to let go and rest at ease. To let go and rest at ease. It sounds so simple, but actually this is the vital heart of the practice. Everything is contained in that. So when we train in complex ways, when we train in complexity, complex meditation needs to lead to a state beyond complexity. When we train with concepts, that training with concepts needs to lead to a non-conceptual state. When we train with fabrication and contrivance, that contrived training needs to lead us beyond contrivance to the uncontrived natural state. That is the state in which everything is summed up. Everything is contained. What are the signs of success in this practice? Meditational experiences or dreams in which you vomit or purge, or washing or dressed in white, and so on. These signs, these excellent signs of purification, they often they'll occur in the dreams of practitioners who are not educated at all. They've never studied texts like this. They haven't heard that these are the signs of purification. But still they experience these dreams through their practice. Like one of the students up in Humla, he was reciting the Vajrasattva mantra. He hadn't studied texts like this, had never heard about things like this, signs and dreams and so on. He said he had a dream of his my late father. The previous day Rinpoche was, I think Rinpoche was at the top of the house and was peeing, and this stream of his urine was like showering down on him and soaking him, completely drenching him, completely drenched by Jagir Rinpoche's urine, like as if showering in it. So that's a pretty good dream, huh? Sign of purification and sign of being showered with blessings. A lot of us are very learned in all of these points, but would struggle to have a dream like that, huh? These days we have a kind of dessert with like a yogurt and a fruit salad. I had this dream of this kind of rain of nectar being showered down by Kinrunmushe. Like that, it was like this rain of yogurt. He was saying, drink the... He was offering us this cascading stream of yogurt, pure white yogurt. And I put my hands out and was drinking it, drinking as much as I could, drinking my full. And I looked around and there were so many others who also had their hands out and were drinking this cascade of pure yogurt that Kinrunmushe was sending down. So that was I've had that kind of dream, but not a dream of the master peeing and drinking their pee. I haven't had that kind of dream yet. Dreams are experiences in which dirt, pus, blood and lymph come out of your body as some of the indications that you've purified illnesses. Those in which minute animals such as ants emerge show that you've expelled negative forces. In particular, you may have real direct experiences of clear awareness, of physical lightness, and a spontaneous devotion and determination to be free. So, your waking life, you might feel physically your body will feel very light, very clear and clean. You'll feel like a really natural renunciation, heartfelt devotion, really stirring compassion for sentient beings. These are actually the best signs you can have to develop renunciation and compassion and devotion. So often students will go to their teacher and bow down and say, "Oh, my guru, I wish to offer you my realization. I need to share my realization with you." There's actually no need to do that. To tell what experiences you've had to your teacher and to get them to confirm your realization. The clear signs, the undeniable signs, are whether your renunciation, your devotion, your compassion are increasing. Those are the signs of realization, right? You don't need to make these kind of obsequious gestures of, offering up your realization to the guru, really. And also with dreams, likewise with compositions by self-declared treasure revealers. So Kinrunmushe would say, not everyone who's a supposed treasure revealer, not all their compositions are that impressive or necessarily really blessed. There are so many treasure revealers, major and minor. It's treasure revealers like Dujun Rinpoche, Dujun Lingpa and so on, whose, even 4 lines of their teachings are just like steaming with blessings, steaming with profound meaning. And also, there's a lot to say about treasure revealers and revealed treasures, Teretans and Termas. Major treasure revealers, major Teretans will reveal a number of different teachings pertaining to what we call Lazok Tuksum, the Guru. Lazok Tuksum, these 3 categories, and complete cycles from beginning to end. So minor treasure revealers might just reveal incomplete teachings or just a few teachings, and anyway, Kinrunmushe would talk about that. In short, there are different kinds of treasure revealers, and their teachings are, you could say, different, of varying value. In general, if you have confidence in the law of cause and effect, there's no way that you'll not feel regret for your negative actions. And when this is so, your parting from faults too will be authentic. Your confession of faults will be authentic. If you have transgressed your samayas or your vows, and you fail to confess and part from those transgressions will obstruct your progress on the path. They'll prevent experience and realization occurring. In short, they'll prevent you from progressing. So we must purify our transgressions through the practice of Vajrasattva. Clear away those transgressions, those obscuring factors, so that we can keep progressing on the path and develop our experience and realization. As it says, from purifying your mind stream in this way, you'll certainly have more and more good experiences and your realization will increase. But if you fail to purify your transgressions and faults, then your experience and realization will not increase. And when we engage in practice, like we could say deity practice, liturgical practice, then sadhana practice, it's important that we do it with knowledge of the generation stage, with knowledge of the completion stage, that we actually know how to engage in the practice of those two stages. Otherwise, just reciting through liturgies without any knowledge, without any actual knowledge of how to practice these two stages, that'll be a very limited benefit. Likewise, it said whenever you recite texts, whenever you recite liturgies, you should do so while recalling the meaning of the words, right? So not just parroting the words, but reflecting on what they mean. Nowadays, however, we're not fundamentally interested in purifying obscurations and don't make the effort. Even if we do, we follow the prayers and rituals merely as a duty. So this is what I was just talking about, but without real heartfelt confidence or shame and regret. This is where the qualities of experience and realization are as rare as stars in the daytime. Likewise, if we engage in a lot of practice, but without the three excellences, if our practice isn't infused with and inspired by, motivated by bodhicitta, then it's going to be a very limited benefit, bring about very limited results. So never underestimate the importance of this method for purifying obscurations and make every effort to practice it so that it's truly effective. So all practices, circumambulations, kora, all types of recitation and practice, all hardships and austerities we engage in are all done in order to purify our obscurations and misdeeds. They all perform that function, they're all done to that end. However, from among all of these different means, Vajrasattva is the most eminent, effective means for purifying obscurations. So in this being so, we should make every effort to practice this meditation of Vajrasattva so that it's truly effective. We dedicate the merit now and stop here for a break.